This is the Tapped In Podcast, the podcast for beverage distributors that want to empower their sales team to drive business results. Listen up and welcome back to another episode of the Tapped In Sales Podcast. I'm your host, Bud. We're here with Mikey, co-host, and then we also have another new guest today, Ms. Kim, COO of NBWA. Kim, how are you today?
I'm great. Excited to be here and share some information about our NextGen group and conference. So looking forward to it.
I love it. That's exciting. The whole episode today is all about NBWA's NextGen group conference later this year in November. Kim, before we get into that, we've got a bunch of beer distributors and sales reps listening to this podcast. You have a plethora of background in the beer industry. I'd love for the group to get a little bit of a background on you, where you came from, and what you're doing now.
Okay. Well, my true background started in accounting as a CPA. Quickly decided that wasn't fun enough industry, moved into the beer industry and worked in the distributor world for nearly 20 years. So super exciting. Loved the industry. The distributor I was working for sold. I came to NBWA, where I was able to apply all of my knowledge as a member to different programs at NBWA. And so I'm lucky enough to lead the Next Generation group for our association and a couple of other initiatives, our brew, building relationships and empowering women, and our Beer First initiative. So excited to, it was exciting to stay in the beer industry and then apply the knowledge that I had to bring things that I thought were valuable to our members.
That's awesome. Very excited. Well, thanks for joining us today. I appreciate that. So we will dig in. Let's start with dates, locations, times, and all that good stuff for the NextGen group. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. November 11th through the 13th. We're going to be in Clearwater Beach, Florida, new location for us. It's at the Wyndham Grand in Clearwater Beach. And the way that the conference lays out, we have a welcome reception on November 11th. So people arrive that afternoon for an evening reception. We have content all day on November 12th and a big evening event, and then content on the morning of November 13th that takes us to 2 p.m. and then the conference concludes.
I mean, look
at all those fancy pictures. Isn't that nice?
Yes, this looks like a nice joint, Ms. Kim.
Yeah, we went down there for a site visit. I don't know if you ever been to Clearwater Beach. I guess you have because you spent some time down there, but super nice.
I've never been to Clearwater Beach, but yeah, NextGen has always been one of my favorite conferences. I was lucky enough to attend 2 years ago. I didn't get to go last year because of all the shakeup and everything else bouncing around, but I was there 2 years ago, and it's definitely one of my favorite. Maybe for the listeners, can you explain a little bit more of what the NextGen Conference is?
Well, it's action-packed days. We have a lot of content. Some would say too much when we run for a full day from 8 to 6, but we have a lot of content targeted towards obviously next generation leaders, emerging leaders in the industry. There's networking. We really hyper focus on networking at this conference, and we have some structured content this year around 3 themes. So we have purpose, impact, and confidence. And so as we talk through the content, I'll show you how it fits into those tracks.
So those are the tracks for the year. What are we looking at inside of those tracks from an education side, Ms. Kim?
Well, we have, if we're going to call them keynote speakers, we have 4 keynote speakers this year. And when I put them in the bucket of keynote, those are really, for the most part, paid speakers, right? Or speakers that aren't necessarily in the normal NBWA industry cycle of speakers. So we have for confidence, we have 2 great speakers. One of them is Emily Jansen. She is a former general manager of a AAA minor league baseball team. And as I think you know, Bud, I have a great love for baseball. So
yes.
I met Emily. She's fantastic. She's great. Obviously a ton of baseball knowledge, but it's she now is an author of a book, and I brought it here for a prop. Let's go. Can you see it there? Okay. So Emily has taken her energy from sports and turned it into writing a book, doing a podcast, some speaking, mostly around confidence. We're going to actually do a book signing at the NextGen Conference after she speaks. And really her talk is about revealing the behaviors and mindset needed to grow confidence and inspire action. Okay, so you get some practical training. You can go out and apply it when you leave and help you achieve your goals and your company goals. And then as a sister presentation to that, we have JB Ryan, who is the chain sales director for Molson Coors for the Pacific region. But I've interacted with her through our Alliance for Women in Beer. She is a brand new author. Her book is in the pre-sale time frame right now, and she talks about presenting with confidence. And she has this great presentation. It's like 7 steps, and the way she lays them out, you can't forget them. And it's all about making these confident presentations so that you can succeed your goals and your business goals. So we have that under confidence, and we'll continue to build out some other breakout sessions around that. And then
those are great.
I know, I'm super excited for that.
Incredible. Yes.
And I'm super excited because we're doing those on Tuesday afternoon back to back. And I think it'll be like some practical skills and mindset around confidence. And then here's some actual tips for getting up and, delivering. I mean, no one loves to speak in public all the time, right? I mean, you do, bud. You do a pretty good job of it. But I know I myself get really incredibly nervous. So it's great when you think through the things that she lists out. So.
I get nervous too. We all get nervous.
You never show it. You never show it.
Right. He never does show it.
No.
And then on the impact side, we have an author, entrepreneur. His name is Jake Thompson. So, it's around this theme of delivering big impact. And he has written 2 books, and the titles, I'm just going to read them: Lead Better Now and Compete Every Day. I mean, could there be 2 better book titles that fit right with beer distributors, right? Perfect. And he's going to show attendees how to drive a lasting impact in their organization by improving their grit, productive habits, and influence. And Jake, last year when we were at the NextGen Conference and we were drinking beer and people were line dancing, one of our NextGen attendees who's been to a number of conferences came and talked to me about Jake, said he had had a big impact on how he did things in terms of at his business planning and in interacting with his team. So we reached out to Jake, had a conversation, and he's going to be joining us. And then on the purpose side, again, we have so much exciting stuff this year. So we have a speaker. Her name is Dr. Cynthia Benson Mercer, and she actually reached out to me through LinkedIn, and her mother was a state exec. So she had complete knowledge about the beer distribution system, 3 tiers, Mary Strata. And so she had brought Cynthia around when she was younger and introduced her to, the business world and also beer distribution. And so Cynthia is delivering on the topic, architecting your future. So it's sort of finding your purpose, personal mission, values, vision, so to enable you to do within your company and without, right? Meaning deliver some meaningful impact within and without. And as we go through this, there's an opportunity to do an online assessment. So free of charge. We're going to make it available to everybody who registers. We'll send it out. When she walks through her keynote, she'll share some insights into that. And then she really wants to work with folks and drill down, like, how do you put this plan together, right? When you get back, how do you actually employ what you learned in that keynote? And so it's different, really. As you know, at this conference, we have folks who are family, who are not family, who are next generation, who will be part of the ownership, others who are emerging leaders that will help lead the companies but are not part of ownership. And so we're doing breakout sessions, and it'll be 1 hour each. So one's targeted towards family members, one's targeted towards emerging leaders who aren't family members. So when people leave, they should have a roadmap to start employing that.
That's awesome. One of the things I love about the conference, as I've been to many of them too, potentially all of them, but I'm not 100% sure.
I
You
don't
have
think
to
all of them.
fact
I have
check
one
me on
person
that.
who's been to all, I think.
Yeah. So they're so much fun because you pack in so much content and value add, and everybody who is trying to grow themselves professionally, you want to get involved in professional development in one way, shape, or form. And this is a conference that is really centered around professional development. And you get a good opportunity of getting actual, dedicated speakers like Emily, like Jay, and Dr. Cynthia. Is that
Dr.
right?
Cynthia, yep.
Yeah, Dr. Cynthia, that are going to bring valuable ideas and actionable. They're not just all fluff. It's a lot of action, and you can actually take these things back home and put them to action at your operation. Well, and that to me is a really good thing that the association puts on, and why I always love and get excited about going.
Absolutely, yeah. Speaking of, so like Nick, you said next generation. So obviously, family, right, taking over the business. You're talking about emerging leaders. What would some of the positions, or who would be the attendees for this conference, and who would be the target audience, I guess, with positions within the company?
As we have like a wide range, and that's one of the things that when we started the Next Generation group, and we purposely didn't put any sort of job title brackets, age brackets. We let people define themselves, right? Whether they were next gen or not. And the way that it has evolved, this will be our 12th annual, believe it or not, conference this year. And so we have seen obviously the group grow, the conference grow, but we've also seen a shift in that about 2/3 of the attendees are family next generation, and about 1/3 are emerging leaders. And so as we put content together, we're very mindful of, that split and making sure that the content is applicable to everyone. And in terms of job titles, again, we have, I think when you see most folks obviously are in the next gen or this emerging leader bracket, we have a decent number of current gen that attend. I think it's very specific content that you can't find at another conference. So once people attend, a lot of times they just keep on attending, or they hop in every few years just to see what's going on there, right? But the sweet spot really is sort of this middle management level or brand new sort of leadership of a company level. And again, we see, a spectrum of ages from super young, fresh out of school or fresh out of grad school, to older. But again, the sweet spot's somewhere there in, early 30s to late 40s, mid 40s, where we see the attendees.
That group of non-family members is growing a
Yes.
lot at the
Yes.
at the joining and coming as well. So if you're out there and if you're a leader thinking about who to send, bringing that non-family member in, this is a great opportunity to invest in that development of that person and bring them into the mix for sure. I'm also seeing a lot of next gen family members that would be more my peers, kind of the more seasoned veteran on the next gen edge, a little bit on the older side, are taking turns and bringing in that middle manager. Like, hey, I've had a great time going to this. I'm going to miss this year. We need to bring you in, and kind of trading off years like you're talking about. Those are great things for sure.
Right. And I think, a couple of things. I mean, obviously in the industry, there's consolidation. So as these distributors grow bigger, a lot of the leaders aren't going to be family members. And I think people are cognizant of that. And this is, an opportunity not only to build their knowledge, but sort of show, affirm your belief in them, right? Affirm that they're going to be a leader in your company. And we see that. And like you said, sometimes there's folks who have attended for a while who then bring more team members.
Yeah.
A lot of times they'll attend just because it's a way for them to bond as a group, right? So you're there, you're sort of saying, okay, you attend that session, I'll go to this session, we'll cover it all, and then we can, catch up later about it. So I think it's valuable for both of those reasons.
Speaking of bonding, because one of the things that the association talks about, and every state association and national association and beer should be talking about this, if you're not, is to check your brand hats at the door and get to know your fellow peers, whether they be on, a big Anheuser-Busch brewer side or the Molson Coors side or a craft only side. your collective is really important in working together on these legislative initiatives. So what are we doing for bonding? What are we doing for fun and for networking? Ms. Kim, do we have anything ironed out there yet?
Yeah,
Well, I can't share all my secrets, right? You have
I don't
to.
blame you.
I'll tell you real fast because that was probably my favorite, obviously the favorite part, but also the learning. But you guys really did a good job for entertainment. I thought that conference was so fun, and everybody had so much fun. And Bud's right, right? You don't really see any branding on your shirts. Everybody's there for one reason. We're not talking about brands and fighting over space and all that stuff. We're there to have fun. So yeah, elaborate a little bit on the fun for this year because that was my favorite part.
And people consistently, it comes back in the surveys that's the best part. Of course, you missed last year, Mike, but we did armadillo racing, and I am still not sure how we're beating that for this year. But for one, this is something that we take a deep dive on, and it's super important for this conference, right? A lot of times, people who come to the NextGen conference, they are not always the same people who attend NBWA convention or to the legislative conference. So when they, the folks they interact most with are the people within their network. You go to state meetings. I was like this when I got to NBWA. I was on the Anheuser-Busch side. Like I knew all the Anheuser-Busch people in my region, but I didn't really know folks from other networks. And so this might be the first exposure people have to build these networks across the country. So it's sort of a safe space, right? These people are across the country. They might not sell the same brands. If you need someone to connect with and bounce ideas off with, or say, gosh, this is going on in my family, have you seen this? You can be more open, I think, with folks who are in a different part of the country or maybe even a different network. So it allows the building of those connections. So before I get into fun, I just want to emphasize that. I mean, I think we see and sometimes I'm even surprised with it, but we have, now that we're in our 12th year, like we have next gen leaders who have gone through the program and have built these connections and they still maintain them. I was at a meeting like a month ago, and the person next to me was texting someone that she had met from NextGen, right? That's in a way across the country in a different network that they would have never interacted with. And it turns out that they text all the time and say, have you seen this? Has this happened in your business? And so, it absolutely works. And these networks are critical, I think, as you go through your career, right? Then you always have someone that you can bounce ideas off of. So for fun, we do the next gen games, obviously. So the intent there is that once everyone's registered, we divide people into equal teams. We have a team leader who's sort of like the hype captain for that team. And we have the ability to earn points so you can win. But, at the end of the day, winning's not really the point of the games. The point of the games is that you have, it's sort of a forced way to make connections, right? So if you show up and you don't know anybody, you're going to be assigned to the team. So you automatically have someone to hang out with. It gets you to interact with people that maybe you wouldn't normally. So we have, at the welcome reception, we usually have a meet and greet with the teams, and then you can earn points through the day. Tuesday evening is obviously our big event where we have something super fun planned, and we have some unique games and ways to earn points. And then in addition to that, we have, we purposely have some flexibility and some planning around lunch, right? So, some of the early feedback was I didn't know anybody, and, you go into lunch and some people talk, some people don't. So in the past few years, what we've done is organize it like here's, and obviously you can go along with it or you can sit where you want, but, the thought is you sit where we've done job titles, so you can talk with people who do the same thing you do across the country. Last year we put some operational challenges there. So if you were having, some sort of issue that you really wanted to get ideas around, you could sit there and talk about that. We've done, things around on the second day, things that you learned the first day. We've done dividing by teams. So it's just a way to sort of facilitate more conversation and it make it easy to meet people. And I think also the app, like, our NextGen group really embraces that conference app. We use Hoova, we use it for our other meetings, but nobody embraces it like the NextGen group, right? And you can, make meet and greets, you can ask questions, you can put funny stuff out there, you can put serious questions for the speakers. And I think that's just another way that I see people. Last year at my lunch table, they were all joking because they had all met via the app and then they were all at the same table. So I think that's another handy way to make connections.
Well, we had, speaking of fun, where people were back and forth. This is a picture that was sent in a group chat out of the blue.
Look at that.
I don't remember who started it.
Look at the color in that beard.
The color in the beard. So Carly started this, and look at that color in the beard. So Carly started this. But this crew still chats today. This was one of the first Next Gens. I think we were in Nashville, maybe. It was like,
I don't know. I was looking really quickly. The other day, this Nashville picture came up. Did I send it to you, Bud? Were you on that group chat? It was really funny. It was like all of what I called the OG Next Gen all together. And we were like, Willie was here in the office. We were like, oh my gosh, you were really skinny and tan. And it was like the whole original group together. It's super fun to see.
And then the other fun Next Gen story connection that I have is that we got invited to Mitch Zolodek's wedding, and we went out to Oklahoma. He's a Molson Coors wholesaler, and we get there, and we have a great wedding, like it's blast, and we're at the reception, and Mitch and Ryan come find Sarah and I, and they bring us this little challenge coin, and it's like a poker chip, and they're like, hey, the whole staff has been briefed. You can have anything you want, any beer you want, whether it's Bud or Bud Light, Michelob Ultra. Everybody else drinking Coors Light or Miller Lite. They're all forced to. But if you give this to them, you can have whatever you want. And I put my arm around them and said, thank you so much. I'll be drinking Coors Banquet all night, though. So you make lasting memories and lasting friends for sure. For those of you who haven't or listening that haven't come yet, consider coming for sure for those reasons alone, if not the education and all the opportunities. And then are there going to be like best practices and next gen member driven stuff as well from a content perspective?
Yes, okay. Absolutely. And, this is also something that, we pay a lot of attention to the surveys that come back after the conferences. And I guess it was probably 5 or 6 years ago now, where people were asking for more formalized best practices. And so we started the process, and what we do this year will be the same. So we put out the call, we say, hey, if you have a best practice you want to share, fill out the form, send it to me. And what we do is we have 2 sets of best practices, which works out to be 6 distinct topics. And so we run them for 30-minute sessions. So you have 20 minutes presentation, 10-minute Q&A, then you go to the next session, and we run 3 at the same time. So everybody has a choice. You can go to 2 because we repeat them. So 6 total best practices. You can attend 4 at the end of the day, and they are all peer driven. And so people, again, I said networking comes back, and also this peer-to-peer best practices comes back is incredibly valuable because you learn something that somebody else is doing. You can go put it into place. Aaron Caffey, who is our current Next Gen chair from the board. He's from Caffey Beverage, Carolina Premium Beverage in North Carolina. And a couple years ago, Blair Watson, who was our chair at that point, gave a best practice on how to set up a state-based Next Gen group. She had done it in Texas. Aaron kicked it off this year in North Carolina. He's just finished his 2nd meeting there, and it's going gangbusters. And that's because he heard a best practice session, right, at the NextGen conference. And we actually have a couple extra spots. I was also going to solicit some people if you want to do a best practice. We had a couple of folks who had to cancel for unrelated reasons. And it's just a challenge. If you have a challenge that somehow you found an answer to, it doesn't have to be anything super complicated. It doesn't even have to be groundbreaking, right? It's just something that was a challenge for you. You found a solution to it, or something that you thought made your distributor or the industry a little bit better. So we are excited again to be using that format in Florida.
Oh, that sounds great. We talked about fun. We've talked about who attends, who it's targeted towards. kind of some of the events that are going on, keynote speakers, but how would this conference really benefit the professional careers of the attendees that are coming, the future leaders and the next generation?
I think there's a few different ways. Obviously, there's some well-rounded industry exposure through the conference. This building, like we said, a network, sort of a network for the life of your career. And then there's specific content that I don't think you're getting at another conference. There's best practices, in those topics. But, as this conference has evolved, and as we talked about sort of the change and maybe the makeup of the attendees, we have purposely made sure that the content is applicable to whether you're in the family or not in the family. We're also hyper aware of the variety of job titles that are represented in the room. And so we have folks from operations, sales, admin, just people looking for general leadership development. So we make sure, there is that leadership development. There is general industry updates. We try to bring in some, leaders from the industry. Last year we had Jen Litz-Kirk there talk about what she saw as sort of the future, from Beer Business Daily's point of view. We do operations, sales, admin. We have updates from NBWA leaders. We always have Craig Purser talk, Lori Knight, Paul Pisano, Lester Jones, so we capture advocacy and we capture industry and state updates. We capture the economic updates. So I think I think the content is like really jam-packed in, but you get a wide variety of it. So there is something on the menu for everyone. And since we do the breakouts or you're rotating from session to session, it gives you the opportunity to pick what is most applicable to you or your company.
Love it.
And
that's awesome.
Then I would say in terms of like, what do you get out of it, right? One of the things, as we've mentioned, we've had this group now for over a decade. So we've watched folks who started in it grow into their careers. And just in the last 6 months, we've had a lot of conversation here at NBWA about, the leaders of the industry, right? So this group is really producing leaders in the industry. When you look at it and you think about, there's this, we've had just like great pride. It's sort of like we're the parents, right? Of the NextGen group. And so,
we have our first NextGen member is going to be chair.
Right. I was going to say our incoming chair is a NextGen member, right? She led the NextGen group. And so the board is populated with folks who were in the NextGen group. We have a leading supplier panel led by someone from the NextGen group. We have wide representation on the supplier panels and councils from the NextGen group. They're speaking at industry events. We see them obviously leading their companies. We have someone on NBWA staff. We have vendors, vendor bud. So, great success. But when you look across the industry, like it really is just inspiring to see the members of this group and where they've taken their careers.
So if you want to grow and get your next promotion or your next, new opportunity, you might want to think about showing up, is what I just heard. And on that piece, Kim, trade show. Is there a trade show? Are there going to be vendors there? Is Vendor Bud going to have a place to set up shop and hang out and bring Jetta?
Obviously.
For everybody who's coming,
Vendor Bud
Jetta will be there.
Jetta is attending. So I'm super excited for that, right? We do. This is also another part of the conference that's grown, but I think is somewhat unique to NextGen. We have, obviously, our associate members are very interested in being part of the conference and being at the NextGen conference. So we have limited the number of sponsors to 14 in person to keep the proper balance between attendees and sponsors, right? But it allows us the opportunity to really immerse our sponsors into the program. So I think, I'm a little biased, but I think at NextGen, like if you're a sponsor or you're an associate member, like it's a great place to be because you just get to be part of the conference. Like you're embedded in the NextGen games, you're attending sessions, you're part of setting up and being there for folks to talk to you all day like you normally would, but you're also sometimes woven into the content depending on, what's on deck for that year. And so I think when attendees make relationships, like if you're going to be successful in the beer industry, right, you also have to have relationships with a wide variety of vendors. You're going to need route accounting systems, you're going to need financial advice, you're going to need a bank, and you're going to need to look at options. And so I think for the NextGen, this also sort of builds that network for them while they're there. And then we have actually 10 supporting sponsors to date. Willie's still selling, for people who want to sponsor but can't attend. When Willie came up with that idea last year, I'm like, I just don't see that working. But, people want to connect with this group. They want to show their support for this group. And so we do have 10 sponsors who won't be there, but who are supplying, either service, money, or product. So I think it's exciting to showcase that. And then we have some swag for this year. Not going to give it away, but it's Florida kind of sort of based. And
everybody loves some trinkets and trash, Kim.
Right. Well, this is not even this is some good swag. So,
okay, I love it.
Right. I'll just tease that.
Not your standard issue beer distributor swag. This is legit.
Got it. Some good stuff.
So Kim, now that everybody's hooked, they want to see this, they want to come, where should they go find the information to register? How do they get there? All the good stuff.
Okay, the easiest thing is to go to the NBWA website. If you're on the NextGen mailing list or NBWA mailing list, you get promotion emails. Obviously, the links are all in there. But if you go to nbwa.org, right on the top ribbon, there's an events tab. You drop down, it says 12th Annual NextGen Success and Leadership Conference, and all of the information is there. We have the registration period. We're out of our early bird period, but the registration fee is $8.95. We try to keep that super affordable so that folks can, attend, and price is not a barrier. We also try to do that with room rate. We're at the Wyndham Grand at Clearwater Beach. Like I said, the room rate is $249. Again, we target to make it something that, the room price is not a barrier. And the room block is open until October 21st. So try to get in there and get registered and get your room secured for that rate till night. But I think it's a great time.
If you're looking for a professional development opportunity, an intimate setting with your peers, this is perfect for you. Check out nbwa.org. Go find the NextGen page and go down and smash that register button and join us down in Clearwater, Florida. We're going to see each other in a couple of weeks. What does the NextGen crew have available for them out in San Diego?
Well, I'm really excited about San Diego because we're doing the NextGen reception. We always do it on Sunday night. It's always immediately before the welcome reception. But the exciting news for San Diego is we're doing it at the Top Gun Bar. So I think it's formerly named Kansas City Barbecue, but it is known for scenes in Top Gun and Maverick. So the NextGen group is invited to that. We have 2 sponsors, VXP, you guys, and also Draftline Technologies. So we are excited to see everybody there. There is a rumor that Maverick might show up. I can't say for sure, but.
And this place, like right across the street from the hotel.
Literally right across the street. Like you can walk over and then you can walk back for the welcome reception.
Yeah, because the hotel is right here, isn't it?
Yeah, and it has like the piano. You know what I mean? It has the whole setup, and like the bartenders, of course, that's all they talk about is the scenes from the movie. It has the piano where they play where Goose originally played, and I'm not sure who played in Maverick, but
I'm gonna have to watch. I haven't seen Maverick yet, so I'm gonna have to watch it before we get out to San Diego.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yes.
That's awesome. Well, we're excited for that. Thank you, Kim, for joining us today. You rock, and we'll see everybody out in San Diego, and we hope to see everybody in Clearwater, Florida. Cheers.
Thanks, Kim. Cheers.
Cheers.